Now, we'll return to Nigerian matters, where Health Minister Dr. Osage Ehanire has confirmed that the number of COVID-19 cases in the country is also being slowed down by the fact that people do not stop giving false information when they visit health facilities. The minister said giving false information is endangering lives of many, especially healthcare workers. Those presenting themselves at healthcare facilities are expected to give true medical and travel history.
As for those who refuse to give their travel history, I think we use this opportunity to appeal to everybody that it is compulsory. You do not mislead health workers by either refusing to give information or giving false information. We did truly have cases of people who gave false phone numbers or false addresses, and others who did not give a history of the fact that they were coming from abroad. Therefore, reducing the possibility of the doctors making the right decision. And that is very dangerous. We do not want that to happen. And in fact, you must realize that there are avenues of prosecution there if you put somebody's life in danger deliberately. And we also have ways of being able to get all the information about a person that we need. There are ways, if you really need information and you think a person is concealing information, there are other ways of getting it, and then if you are proved to be wrong or deceiving the system, there are consequences. So if you give the correct information, it is for your own good, it is for your own benefit, and the benefit of those who live with you, who are your members of your family and your friends, so that the necessary precautions and giving and necessary treatment for you as a person can be provided.
Health Minister Dr. Osage Ehanire. Now, a lot has also been said about the COVID-19 rapid testing kits. But to tell us more about the quality and safety of this particular kit, which we've heard so much about, we have the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, a parastatal under the Ministry of Health, saddled with the responsibility of analyzing consumer and health-related products, Mr. Aliyu Angara, who is in our Abuja studios. Good evening, Mr. Angara, and thank you for being with us at this time. What can you tell us what can you immediately tell us about these rapid test kits? Are they for real?
Well, I thank you very much for having me, and good evening, Nigerians. With regards to rapid test kits, basically that's under the purview of the basically medical laboratory science scientists, as well as people in the main profession. Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria basically concerns itself with the testing of the products. Product testing, like food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, environment, water, and what have you. In the case of COVID-19, our concern is mostly on the testing of the safety gadgets, the sanitizers, the hand gloves, as well as the other PPEs that have found use in the combat of this pandemic. So I think with respect to rapid test kits, I think my colleague will tell you much more about that, if you may. Yeah.
League, of course, you are referring to is a medical laboratory scientist and virologist who is also a member of the West African Network of Excellence of Clinical Trials in TB, AIDS, and Malaria, Dr. Akiela Ishaku. Dr. Ishaku, if you're there, and I'm sure that you are, thank you so much for joining us at this point. We'll return to Mr. Angara in just a moment. But my very first question, of course, remains about this rapid testing kits. Are they for real? I'm going to put the question to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ladi, and thank you, viewers, for creating a platform for us to share from this. I quite agree with you that a lot of rapid diagnostic kits were sent from China But I strongly believe that a lot of quality control and quality assessment needed to be carried out on the kits to ascertain the level of sensitivity and specificity of the rapid diagnostic kits, and also to establish the CAPA level of agreement between the rapid diagnostic kits with the gold standard. So for sure, I agree with my friend and a senior colleague here that we need to perform quality assurance and quality control on the rapid diagnostic kits vis-a-vis having both positive and negative samples to test the kit. Ladi, and our viewers, I want to share this, that it's not about rocket science for us to develop rapid diagnostic kits. I want to commend the Nigerian government and NCDC for pushing in this fight of COVID-19, but I think it is time for us to look inwards, be able to have, develop our local content. Developing a rapid diagnostic kit is not a rocket science. Actually, we have a lot of human resources. We have a lot of virologists and medical laboratory scientists that can be able to develop a rapid test kit that is domesticated in Nigeria. This is quite key. And I'm quite happy that we have been having positive samples. So it's just for us to harvest certain antigens and antibodies from these blood samples and be able to come up with our own domestic rapid diagnostic kits. Time has come for us to look inward, to be able to tap into the expertise of our human resources back home, to be able to come up with a very valid rapid diagnostic kit that should be able to have a very high sensitivity, specificity, and be able to establish negative and positive predictive value with a high level of CAPA level of agreement. So I strongly believe that any rapid diagnostic kits that will come into the country, we need to perform quality control on it. We also need to perform quality assurance on it.
Now, at this point, then that also brings me to something else. All in the effort to find lasting solutions to the problems of COVID-19. And that is the issue of trials for medications, trials for drugs, and all of that. So what's your own view? Two French doctors, of course, they've since withdrawn that statement, had previously suggested that many or some of these trials should be conducted first on the African continent. And quite a lot of people had reacted to that, including the likes of former president, US president, that is Barack Obama, and international footballer Didier Drogba. The first comment was one of the doctors, who is the head of the intensive care unit at a hospital in Paris, Jean-Paul Mera, who said it may be provocative. Should we not do this study in Africa where there are no masks, no treatment or intensive care? A little bit like it's been done for certain AIDS studies, where amongst prostitutes we try things because we know that they are highly exposed and don't protect themselves. Now, the other doctor, research director at the National Health Institute, agreed with his medical colleague, adding that, quote, "You're right, and by the way, we're thinking of, in parallel, about a study in Africa using this same approach." Now, let me ask you, Dr. Ishaku, what is the process for conducting a clinical trial? In brief, if you may.
Actually, to conduct a clinical trial, there are a lot of phases. First of all, once you identify a product, you need to actually go through phases of clinical trials. First of all, you need to test these products in animal models to be able to look at how efficacious these products are, and also to look at the level of immunogenicity. Then you move to the first one, which you need to recruit participants within a small cohort, and then be able to perform these clinical trials on them, begin to administer these products, which can be drugs, which can be vaccines. And then you move to a larger cohort where you have more participants to be recruited into a study, and then you follow it over time. This takes about 2 to 3 months to perform the first phase 1 clinical trials, and it takes about 6 to 9 months to perform the second phase of clinical trials before you consider the safety of that product and also be able to look at the availability of that product. So I quite agree with you. the issue about the French doctors, I want to believe that they have tendered their apology, but it also beckons on us as a continent to begin to look inward. Actually, their suggestion about doing a clinical trial of a drugs is not a new product. It is the BCG that is mostly used for tuberculosis, and so one of the things which is not being used in Europe, basically we have this being used over here. But I think they have tendered their apology. Africa is not a laboratory testing ground for most of these products. And it also brings to bear for us to also standardize our protocol as a continent and also as a nation to be able to standardize it. That for every product that has to go through a process of clinical trial, it has to be evaluated. So it is a kind of a multidisciplinary approach to a clinical trial process because a lot of people are involved in. I want to thank Professor Adebayo for coming up with a very good concept of about multidisciplinary approach in the UNILAC consults. So likewise in clinical trials, it is a multidisciplinary approach. You have a lot of pharmacists that are involved. You have a lot of clinicians, public health clinicians. You have a lot of people that are engaged in clinical trials. You have epidemiologists. You have people that look at the side effects of most of this. You even have health economics that look at the economic component of this clinical trial vis-a-vis. So
let me interrupt you, Dr. Ishaku, because of our time. My final question will be for the registrar of IPAN, that's Mr. Aliu Angara, who is also with you there in our studios. Now, in the introduction, we did talk about what IPAN does, of which you are the chief executive, the registrar. Now, how is IPAN's duty different, as you explained? How is that different from what NAFDAC does?
Can you please come again?
I said, given, if you can
you
hear me.
Very audible.
Can you hear me now? If you can hear me now, what I did say was that in your explanation of what IPAN does, you mentioned a number of things. My question is, how is that different from what NAFDAC does, for example?
Okay, the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria is a professional regulatory body under the purview of the Federal Minister of Health. It concerns itself with the experts and personnel involved in the analytical testing laboratory analysts that engage in the analysis of food, drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices, environment, and other related products. And a registered member of the Institute is empowered by law to conduct analysis on these products, and it is certificate issued under the hand of these analysts that is can be tendered in the court of law or tribunal of the land, provided that this analysis was effected in a registered laboratory that is duly designated, registered, and fully licensed to carry out the job. This is as encapsulated in the Section 14, Subsection 2 of the IPAN Act. So basically, the members of IPAN or the Institute we are persons regulator. We regulate the practice of public analysis, while NAFDAC regulates the products, manufacturing, quality control, etc., etc. So people engage in the assessment of the quality and the safety of these products are public analysts. They may be found in public laboratories like NAFDAC, SON, NESRA, what have you.
I think we have a good idea. I think we have a good idea, Mr. Agara. Thank you very much for that differentiation. It's at that point that because of our time, we do have to leave it. I want to thank both you gentlemen in our Abuja studios for coming along tonight. Mr. Agara, of course, is the Chief Executive and a Registrar of the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, while the other gentleman who's been speaking with us today has been Dr. Akela Ishaku. Thank you, both of you, from our Abuja studios. Now, as we wind this down, we'll go back to the foreign scene for our final time, where we have the global roundup of what's happening with COVID-19, apart from what has happened in the UK. I'm made to understand that the Johns Hopkins University is reporting the number of deaths in the United States having exceeded 10,000 from an almost 350,000 number of cases. Meanwhile, the number of daily deaths from the coronavirus in Spain has fallen for a fourth consecutive day, raising hopes that the country has passed the outbreak's peak. Spain has recorded more than 135,000 confirmed cases across the country, the highest in Europe, but with the number of new cases slowing. And finally, tonight, we got this just coming in. It's breaking news. News just coming in. 6 new COVID-19 cases have been confirmed by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in Nigeria as at now to 238. Of the 6 new cases, 2 are in Kwara, 2 are in Edo, 1 in the Federal Capital Territory, and 1 is in a river state. Just again, the news just coming in, 6 new COVID-19 cases have been confirmed by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 238. Of the 6 new cases, 2 are in Kwara, 2 are in Edo, 1 is in the Federal Capital Territory, and 1 is in River State. Now, as the COVID-19 pandemic persists, Canada earlier today evacuated 137 Canadian nationals from Nigeria, while 492 American citizens also left the country through the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos.
Coronavirus is a pandemic that is affecting the entire world. In times of emergency, no matter what the emergency is, we give American citizens the opportunity to return to the United States. We are doing this throughout the world in over 77 countries. Over 30,000 Americans have requested assistance in order to return home to their friends and their family, possibly to contribute to America's effort to fight this coronavirus. We know that we would like to repatriate approximately 1,000 American citizens. And if we use today as an example, I think we're going to meet that goal.
Well, that's how we're going to wrap it up at this point in time. But just before we go, a quick look at that breaking news just coming in. 6 new COVID-19 cases have been confirmed by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, bringing the total number of confirmed cases as at now to 238. Of the 6 new cases, 2 are in Kwara, 2 are in Edo, 1 is in the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, and 1 is in River State. And as we leave you, we want to take a look first at the NCDC website, if we have it. We'll have to take the WHO website, but I understand that it isn't coming up. So this is how we're going to wrap it up today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of this hour. Of course, we'll be back at 12 and 6. But between now and then, please send in those pictures of what you're doing during this time. Send us a picture or a short video on how you're observing this lockdown, wherever you may be, or what you're doing during this period. It'd be lovely to hear from you. The handles are right there on your screen. I'm Ladi Akiridoluale. Good night.